box. Now, if you've got a board and the box hasn't been capped, you will more than likely have a crack at the front of the box. Okay, it's pretty well guaranteed. They go hand in hand. If you have a board which is capped, you won't have a crack there. So that goes hand in hand too. So that's pretty well what happens. Now first you've got to tape up the edge of the box hole. You don't have to do heaps, only a couple of mil next to the hole. And then you trim next to it. Oh, bugger. And that happens occasionally. Righto. Got to retape that. Sometimes the tape just, because it's only cheap sticky tape, it just splits. So I've got to put that down again. And it's not the end of the world. That's got a lot more grey in it, according to the X-Files. Now, let's try that again. And that happens, okay? Here it is. Got to get a new roll of sticky tape soon. So, put that on again. Just rub it down flat. Now, let's see if I can trim this again without fucking it. Yep. And here. Right. Lift that up. So far, so good. Bit on this side. Right, that's the first part. Now, let's trim the back half again. See if I can do it in one piece. Not stuff it up. Trim, trim, trim. Do the other side. Cut this. Now I'll try that again. Lift this up and hopefully one side comes off. Yep. And then this side. There we go. And you're only left with a little bit of tape around. Get rid of that bit of glue. Yeah, tape stops the resin from going in where the fin box is. Remember, what I do last is I route the fin box out once I cap it. Now, the next thing you do, you need 2 layers of 6 ounce to go over that to create a really good cap. So there's one piece. It's the smaller one of the two. And then I cut a bigger one. Okay? That just means it's not weak now and I won't get a crack in front of my fin box. Worst part is if you've paid good money for a board and they don't cap it. I always tell the story how I knocked back a contract worth $30,000 because the glasser wouldn't cap the box. He said, I'm not going to do that. And I said, no, you're not. I'm not going to shape the boards. So he missed out on probably 200 shapes. I still made the same amount of boards, but Just didn't make it for the company that wanted to do shit work. And that's how it normally works. You'll get put in situations like that, and there we go. Let's cut this. It's my little sticker, and if you have this sticker on your board, you can guarantee your fin box has been capped. Okay, so that's the quality assurance of getting this logo on your board. I'm not going to cheap out and do something dodgy. There we go, bit of resin. Yeah, doesn't take much to do it. Imagine losing a contract for 200 boards to glass them, all because you didn't want to do this. Crazy, isn't it? But we've distanced ourselves from companies like that. That's why I don't want to deal with those sort of people ever. Ever, 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 ever. Right, that's mixed up. I'll put this big piece back on. There we go. As I say, that's where all the strength is. This area here will not crack. Get my brush. I've got to buy a new bigger brush. So at the moment I've got to use this smaller one. But it's alright, it still works. So I'll just paint that little bit there so it doesn't move. Lift that up. Wet under where my sticker is. Yes, the sticker doesn't stand out heaps being on that dark purple, but it's there. Made in Australia, pieter.com. So you don't get that unless you've got one of my boards. And I'm glad that company chose to be cheap, because I really didn't want other people glassing my shapes, you know, especially if they're going to do a shit job. So and I think that person doesn't even work anymore, they retired, so no, didn't want to be involved with that sort of company. But they didn't believe it when I said no thank you. Now, because this is a quick mix and I want this to wet out perfectly, I've got to roll it to make sure all those little light whitey coloured bits, which are fibres that haven't totally wet out yet, which takes a few minutes, but because I'm doing it quicker, what you do is you roll it. Now, as I'm rolling this out, what's happening, all the fibres are wetting out perfectly, very quickly. So what it means is, when this goes off, you won't be able to tell there's a patch there. Okay, see that? See how it's all totally wet out? This just sped up the process. It would have done it in about 3 minutes, but the thing could have, the resin could have gone off in that time, because I did a hot mix, okay? So that's why I roll it. So this is all now wet out perfectly. I'll put my excess down here. This is how you get rid of your excess acetone. Pour your old resin into it and it goes solid and goes hard. Clean my roller. There we go. Now, next stage, I'm going to mix up another bit of resin and filler coat this. And you can see that's perfectly clear. You cannot see where the cloth is. When I filler coat over that, which makes it into a sandable surface, it will then, I'll sand the board in about an hour and a half. Then I whack the pin line on, finish coat it and polish it tomorrow. Now, I'm going to fill up my wax solution. This is, I always use my little squeeze bottle. I'm going to get a bit more wax. Where are we? Wax and styrene. So is that think I've already taken some from this one. Good. Yes, I have. Okay, so fill my wax and styrene bottle up. It's not bad. Now what I'm going to do, I'm only going to put this bit of wax in there, then I'm going to put it back in the container and I'm going to put it in the sun because some of the wax was a bit hard then. So I don't want to pour out. Yeah, I don't want to pour out wax out of this unless it's totally melted, because what happens, it floats to the surface. So I'll put that back in here. I want it to be perfectly clear. That way I know I'm getting the perfect mixture of wax. So I'll just leave that here in the sun. Get that to heat up a little bit. Won't hurt it, it'll just warm it up a bit. A bit harder. This should have gelled. Yep, it's just gelled. So now I'll whack the filler coat on. Okay, this is now waxed resin. So this sticky laminate that I just put on, now I'll be able to sand over the top of it because it's got a bit of filler resin like you do on a normal filler coat. Okay, there we go. And there'll be 2 layers of cloth over the box, and I won't get that crack in front of it. Some brands are famous for it. If you've got a board, go out and have a look. You'll know if you've got that famous brand. I won't mention their name. I'll let the crack tell you who they are. But right there, you'll see a little crack, okay? Right where the black ends on the box, it'll be separated where it started to crack through. Right, so I'll put my excess leftover bit in there. Now, I might go and have a cuppa. And then I'll come back and sand this in an hour and put the, what do you call it, the pin line on it. It's only going to have a fine pin line, but it's going to look quite good. Anyway, I'll be back. There we go.